Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WITV 7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey friends, please join me for a minute and just imagine how incredible you'd feel living the unique and distinct life you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. Well, that's what I call a life of significance. And I can tell you it makes for a very happy life. And so can Lindsay Gutierrez. She comes highly recommended by Bobby McLaughlin from episodes 114, 123, and 129. Lindsay's my guest star today, and she's here to share her unique and distinct journey to her life of significance. But before bringing her on, we've added a new segment to our show called the Show Poem. So here's our poem for Lindsay. For Lindsay Gutierrez, service reigns supreme, from Air Force wings to advocacy's dream. With hearts ablaze, she serves the fight for veteran women. Her light shines bright. A beauty queen with nerves of steel, she mends the law so women heal. So listen close to Lindsay's voice, and in her words, you'll find the choice to stand with her for good and right and fight for justice day and night. Hey, Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. That was beautiful.
Well, get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world.
Well, 2 weeks ago, I actually donated 40% of my liver. So I am fresh out of surgery as we are making this podcast right now. So I am still in the recovery process. And that is exactly why I came very natural today to the podcast, is just to show who I am, what it looks like in this period of my life. And really what I've been doing before then was just trying to find a good place that I feel like I fit in. And for me, that was in a community of women veterans and then in the living donor space. And that took effect about 2 years ago with being a living donor. And then, of course, I served in the military and the Air Force specifically from 2010 to 16. So I found a way to mesh a few of these roles together to really find my significant place in life.
So 2 years ago, you donated a kidney.
I did, my left kidney.
Okay. And then 2 years later, 40% of your liver.
Yes,
So,
40%.
so just give the audience a brief understanding of why you did the first one and then redoubled down to do the second one and what your message is about living donation.
Sure. So it was about November of 2021, somewhere around there. I learned about organ donation through a friend whose friend was needing a transplant. And so that really planted the seed in my mind about organ donation. And so didn't think much of it until about 2 months later. And so at the time I was working at my congressman's office and we received the Defense News magazine in the mail, which we've never received before ever. And so I definitely feel like that this was a God planted situation for me. So I'm flipping through this magazine and I see an ad for Dove. It's donor outreach for veterans, and it's connecting veteran recipients to living donors. And so I contacted the CEO, her name is Sharon, did the intake, and then fast forward a few months later, I undergo my organ donation to another veteran on May 25th, 2022. And then the following year, it was less than a year later, actually, it was about 9 months later, we hiked with Bobby and a whole bunch of other recipients and donors and other supporters in the living donation space. We hiked Mount Kilimanjaro together, summited on World Kidney Day last year. And so through that connection with this wonderful group of people, I learned about becoming a dual donor because a few of the people on that hike were also dual donors, which means you donate kidney and liver. And so I decided to look into that process and then contacted Johns Hopkins since I live in the Maryland area now and it's close to where I'm at. Went through their process, and then that was probably about 2 months in the making this year of getting that process going and officially settled on April 30th. And now here we are 2 weeks later, and I am still healing. I got a massive scar to show what I have gone through, and it is definitely a different process than it was for the kidney, but I would do both all over again if I could.
I'm not going to ask to see the scar. That'd be a little
Yeah.
much for the podcast. But
Yeah.
just quickly before we move on, so a kidney you donated and it's gone, but
Mhm.
does the liver grow back? Did I learn that right?
Yes, you are correct. So the 40% that I donated was immediately taken from me, and the recipient was in the room right next to me, which I haven't had the honor or pleasure of meeting my recipient yet, but I do know that they are living a thriving life and they're doing well. And so that's
Good.
happy and content for me to know that. So
Good.
now what I'm feeling is immense hunger because it takes a ton of calories and a ton of energy to regenerate a
Mm.
liver. And I absolutely know exactly what my medical team was talking about when they warned me about that, because I just want to eat everything. My energy levels are really low, but walking is the best medicine right now to get healing and to move that healing forward. And so basically I'm focusing on eating and walking. That's my daily routine now, is just consuming a lot of calories because it takes so much for that liver to regenerate. And usually it takes 1 to 2 months, just depending on how quickly the body can regenerate it and how much is taken out. So I should be feeling pretty good and back to normal in about 6 to 8 weeks.
Very good. All right, Lindsay, let's do a little mathematics so our friends
Okay,
all around the world can get to know you through our happy formula. It's a very
sure.
simple but powerful equation that goes like this: power plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with power. What are your personal practices for building up all the power you need to get things done, whether it's physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, emotionally? In other words, Lindsay, what do you do on a regular basis to create all the power you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over so you can be a giver to others?
A lot of exercise goes into that because I feel like that helps discipline my mind and my body. And then just being mindful of the things that I'm doing. Is it bringing myself happiness, or is it doing something different that is taking that energy away? So that's what I do. And then, of course, that breeds into what I do spiritually as well, and means reading, doing my devotional. So those are my components for power.
Mindfulness, there's a quote that says mindfulness is being in the present moment, right
Hmm.
here, right now, present. And there's a quote that says, the present moment is where eternity and time intersect.
Yes.
So when you're in the present moment, you're at one with God, with all eternity, with everything. And that's where all your power is.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Lindsay, let's dive into my favorite power generating concept. It's called a Kaizen state of mind. And it's this beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And I love it because it's based on mindset, not circumstance. Kaizening life is always knowing there's something I can do better tomorrow than today. And it
Mhm.
creates this optimistic, gentle, but powerful and continuous uplifting of my life day after day after day. So, Lindsay, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can continuously give more?
For me, it changes a lot day by day, and just recognizing what is it that I need today. And so that could be maybe just taking a break for myself. It could be um, taking a hike. It really changes. But what really builds that for me is knowing that I need to be able to give back in some way. And so a lot of it is built around how can I help somebody else. And so
Mm.
at this present moment, especially have just freshly donating, is making sure that people hear the story. And I'm here to
Mhm.
support those who are either going through the process, want to go through the process, still need that support post surgery. So being there and done that kind of situation is something that I feel at this present moment is where I need to be to help somebody else, because I knew what it was like donating 2 years ago, and it was different then and it's different now. And so we're all at a different place in our life, but I want to be able to share that testimony of how it's changed my life and how I can help somebody else who needs that.
So Kaizening is small incremental improvements add up over time. So
Hmm.
give an example of when you first donated 2 years ago, you must
Sure.
have tried to share.
Hmm.
But here you
Hmm.
are 2 years later with experience and
Yes.
with more contacts. And so how much more effective. Kaizen is being able to do more with less and becoming more effective with using your experience and using best practices that you've established. So can you compare the difference between trying to get the word out 2 years ago compared to where you are today?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I didn't know what I was getting into the first time around. I didn't know what to expect or really have to use the right words to advocate, especially being a living organ donor, because I hadn't gone through the process yet. And
Mm,
so I took what I learned from that situation and now have applied it here to be able to do a comparison of the two. So now I'm using my liver donation and my kidney donation. While they are living organ donation situations, they're both very different circumstances. And so I'm
mhm,
building upon both of those and a lot of the different communities that I'm a part of and the people I've connected with to be able to share, here's the differences. And I can give you bits and pieces of what it's like, but you're ultimately going to have to experience it for yourself because it's going to be very different for you as well, because everybody has their own journey that they go through. But now I also can articulate much easier, especially to maybe my work or to friends and family about what this process has been like and explain to them the differences I've learned along the way to advocate for myself in this space or to say, no, I really need more time for healing because XYZ. So it's
mhm.
allowed me to find a different voice this time around.
And give a few comments on this idea. How I got involved in this was a friend of mine, Ed Hearn. I met with him and he
Hmm.
was looking for his fourth kidney and he taught me about it. And
Yeah.
I started thinking, maybe I should do it. And I made the decision not to. And I checked
Hmm.
with my doctors and I'm 63 years old now. And one of my friends is a surgeon. And she said, Matt, you're not a spring chicken. And so
Right.
I made the decision not to. People will be listening, but they can decide to donate, which is great. Or if they don't think that's right for them, they can still contribute by
Oh, yeah.
sharing the message and by donating financially. And so maybe just give a little bit of your point of view from people who support you by donating their living organs and those that don't, that just help to promote the cause.
Yeah, so there's a huge difference, obviously, from donating to contributing in other ways, but they're both equally important. And so you have to have both components to for this to be successful in general, and for living organ donation to be out in the world. And so I think it's a huge step and it's a major step. And I really encourage people to pray on whether or not they feel like it's the right thing for them to do to be an organ donor. For me, I knew it was, but I definitely consulted with family and friends and went through all the
Mhm.
required testing just to make sure. And if it is, I highly encourage people to go through with that because there's so much value in being a living donor because you're getting a fresh organ from somebody and you're helping save a life because living organ donors just don't come forward all the time. They do
Yeah.
on occasion, but especially for liver, there's not as many for liver as there are for
Mm.
kidney. There's ways for kidney patients to help along the process through dialysis and some of the other things that they may be doing while they're waiting for a kidney. For liver, there's no option.
Mm.
Transplant is the only option. And
Mm.
so that's the difference in that is you don't have as many people who are willing to step forward because liver is so invasive. And I can definitely attest to that now. At the same time, we wouldn't know about any of these types of donation processes without people sharing the word or donating to nonprofits or whoever that may be, somebody's GoFundMe to help get
Yeah.
that word out and to share what they're needing because um, sometimes that's the only way that people have is to rely on others to help share that word. So it's
Yeah.
critical that people help share what is going on in social media around the world, in the news. If you find a story and share it because you just
Yeah.
never know whose life you may touch and who's going to see that story.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. All right, let's explore purpose. That's the second element of our happy formula. And Lindsay, I've observed that major life transformations, those big changes, big discovery of purpose, so often comes from devastation, addiction, abuse,
Mhm.
disease, death, disaster, something horrible strips a life to its core, resulting in some big change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover the purpose of my life using inspiration. So how about you, Lindsay? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the God-given purpose you were meant to live?
Yeah, and I didn't really think it was catastrophic in any way because it came in a different wave for me. So for me, it was right after I had separated out of the Air Force and I was trying to find this new identity. I was excited and I was looking forward to that next step, whatever that may have been. Didn't really have a path. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but the way that it was coming about just wasn't what I was expecting. And so I was hitting all these different um, crossroads of which direction do I go?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was hitting closed doors and people who wouldn't give me an opportunity. And so I went almost 2 years without working, without doing anything. And I was doing what I could at the time, but I wasn't able to find real steady work. I was doing some substitute teaching here and there and trying to just get my foot in the door wherever I could in this new community that I was living down in Georgia because my husband's still active duty Air Force. So we were this in this new place trying to find a new life for myself and nothing seemed to be working out. So 2 years of doing absolutely nothing, or so I felt like anyway, was a lot of time. And so it took trying to not feel sorry for myself, but figure out what is it that I'm supposed to be doing in this period? Why are all these doors shutting? Why can I not just get a job? You would think it would just be easy to get a job, but I felt like God was finally telling me, no, this is the path. I have a path for you. I need you to start looking at what I have planned and start focusing on me.
Mm.
That's going to reveal exactly what I need you to do, not
Mm.
what you want to do. Because I realized I was putting what I wanted, my needs first, instead of God's needs in front of mine. That's when I started seeing the big changes. And that's whenever school opened up for me to start looking into social work. And then
Mm.
that opened up more opportunity for uh, helping veterans in my community. And then another door opened. And now here we are with organ donation and just helping veterans in
Yeah.
that space. So a lot of these things were because I didn't do anything. And it wasn't because I didn't want to, it was because God was
Yeah.
telling me, this is not your time. I have a time and a plan and a path for you, but just trust in me.
No, very good. Um, Tell us about the transition from uh, 2009, when you spent a couple of years as a softball pitching
Hmm.
instructor, and then you decided to go into the United States Air Force.
Yeah,
That seems like a great big change. What
huge.
initiated that? Yeah.
Yeah. So at the time I was living in Oklahoma, I was about 2, 3 years, somewhere around there, post graduation from undergrad. And so I was still living at home with my parents. I was kind of getting my footing as far as a young adult, trying to just make it in general after college. So I was giving pitching lessons because I played softball in college, and I was
Okay.
doing some coaching work. I was just working a job that I felt like was helping pay the bills. It was a good job, but not exactly what I wanted to do. And I really wanted to focus on special effects makeup. So I decided
Hmm.
no time like the present to finally do something I've been trying to do. So I packed up my stuff. I planned with a friend from college. We moved out to California, started a life in LA together. She had a great job working for the government, and here I was trying to just do something in special effects makeup. So I went back to school for a little bit, focused on that. And then, of course, the reality of LA hit. And so while my friend was doing great things and she was really working on her career, I still felt stagnant in mine.
Hmm.
Again, I had to have a job to help pay the bills, and things just weren't working out. So I relocated down to Orange County to try to save a little bit more money since LA was extremely expensive. Decided to move down to Orange County with another girlfriend of ours that we all played together at New Mexico State together. And so um, I told my friend, I was like, I'm going to give it 1 month. If I can't get a job in 1 month, I'm going back to Oklahoma and just we'll see what happens from there. I was able to get a job within that 1 month, but something was still telling me there's more out there. And again, that was that God rustling up in my life and showing me there's going to be a different path for you. And that seed that my grandpa had planted in my mind back whenever I was a kid about joining the military started getting stirred up, and it was growing. And that's when I decided it's time for me just to go check out the military and to see what the recruiter has to say. And the rest is history.
Very good. All right, Lindsay, thank you for that. Now let's take a quick
Sure.
commercial break so our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience. Mr. Happy Living here. I love good things made for good people. That's why I love Happy Living's online e-course. It's an 8-week-long deep dive into you and the inspired life you want to live. The life you were put here on this earth to live. The one that you and only you can live. 8 weeks of lectures and ideas and topics and supporting materials and powerful self-improvement tools. All designed for you. All designed to help you create the tools and the power and the confidence you need to discover your purpose and to discover the life you were meant to live and to feel incredibly inspired and motivated to decide you will live your life to its fullest. It's all designed to help you create the unique and distinct philosophy of you and your inspired life. Go to happyliving.com, select our e-course, and save $100 with promo code WYTV7. And for every enrollment, I'll donate another $100 to WYTV7. For $300 and about 30 hours, I promise you'll never, ever be the same again. And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersper. My special guest star for episode 153 is Lindsay Gutierrez. She retired from the United States Air Force in 2016, was crowned Ms. Veteran America in October 2017, reigning for 1 year, bringing awareness to America about homeless women veterans. And she earned a Master's of Social Work at Arizona State University in 2020. She's a very active volunteer and advocate for causes that are close to her heart, such as trauma, women veterans, combat and non-combat related brain injuries, policy changes, legislation, and military social issues. And Lindsay's future goal is to attend law school, combine it with her MSW degree, and practice social justice and human rights law. One day, she says she'd love to seek public office to give voice to her community. So I just may be interviewing a future president of the United States.
I hope so. That would be great.
Oh, Lindsay, I love all that. And I think you're
Thanks.
going to love this article that's called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. It says that the act of giving itself can be a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. It says that science tells us that giving our time and talents and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering purpose and overcoming difficulties and finding fulfillment and meaning in life. So I updated our formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. So what do you think, Lindsay? Has giving your time and talents and treasures been a pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting past difficulties that you've faced and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I feel like giving is the key, I feel like, to happiness, because whenever you give of yourself, whether that be time, energy, money, whatever that may be, you're helping somebody else better themselves, whether it's somebody that you meet or that you're giving to anonymously. The fact that you're helping somebody else enhance their life is something that I feel like can never be repaid. It's just something that it's a feeling of joy that can only be done whenever you give selflessly.
Yeah. And I've learned long ago that when you're in the act of either giving with a generous heart or taking with an awful heart, when we're good or when we're bad, when we're mean, we affect other people. and we
Yeah.
don't always know how much we affect. So have you had
Hmm.
any experiences where, someone's come back to you and said, "Oh, thank you for this or that," and you said, "What? I was, what? I was just being Lindsay.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, a lot of times I feel like that we have that kind of imposter syndrome of it's just what I do, but you don't realize that ripple effect that it can make in somebody's life of
Yeah.
giving. And some people are giving that ultimate sacrifice. Some people are giving just the bare minimum of what they have. And no matter what that looks like, the fact that you're giving with that selfless heart is what's most important, because that is what I feel like God calls us to do. It's just we're called to give
Yeah.
whatever we have available, and He will um, pay that dividends to us. And that's the other key too, is that you're not giving to be able to get that from
Yeah.
God. You're giving it because you want to, but God sees what you're doing with that genuine heart and mind, and that's what He ultimately values.
I find that the Bible has told us how to do these things for years and years, and then science finally catches up to
Hmm.
what is in the Bible. And science and the
Yeah,
Bible tells us that giving to others brings real meaning to our lives.
absolutely.
And the joy that comes from that fourth element of significance, which is doing work that creates value for others, it confirms it. I can see it in your face. It just feels good. But
Hmm.
there's something more to it than just the giving, Lindsay. I believe that the real magic of life, the real good stuff, comes when you're giving from living in your purpose.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
so Lindsay, the audience and I would like to experience how it makes you feel to be happily living your life and giving to others through the work God put you on this planet to do, and the people all around you have taken notice. So please sit back, open your heart, and have a listen to what people are saying about the impact that you're making on their lives by finding the magic of giving from living in your purpose. So one person said, "Lindsay is a woman that never sees a mountain she can't climb." Another said, "Lindsay cares deeply and passionately about her pigs and the organ donor network." Another said, "If you get the chance to share some time with Lindsay, do it," all caps.
Mm.
Your life will forever change for the better." Others said, "A veteran, a friend, and a wife. Kind, compassionate, thoughtful, selfless, joyful, helpful, loving, giving, understanding, strong, diligent, relentless, enthusiastic, generous, a free spirit, an advocate, a volunteer, an organ donor, a role model, pageant queen, a leader that leads by example. Lindsay can do tough things, very tough things, exclamation point. I'm really inspired by her fortitude. She works hard in her community to make a difference. Someone others can look up to and be inspired. Witnessing people interact with Lindsay says it all. They walk away impacted for the better, inspired to help others as she does, and intentionally seeking ways for others to benefit. She's nothing short of amazing. Lindsay may have left the military service, but truly espouses the values of duty, honor, and country. And finally, this person just simply said, "Ah, Lindsay, one of the true gems currently walking this planet of ours."
Oh, that is so sweet.
So,
Wow.
how does all
Very,
that love make you feel?
that makes me feel really good. Very humbling and just so kind, because I don't think you ever really set out to make these kind of differences, but the fact that people do take notice, I mean, that's incredible. I don't even know, that leaves me speechless. I am Wow, I'm very overjoyed and just grateful for these people in my life who see that, because that means so much to me. Oh, that is so heartwarming.
Well, that's what this show is
Wow.
all about. It's finding, when you're in your purpose, it's easier. You've mentioned it several times. You're
Yeah.
listening to what does God have for you, and when you do that, it works. And
Mhm.
so it's finding that magic in each of our lives. And I believe it's available to all of us. It comes
Yep.
from this great big happy circle. Giving your time and talents and treasures is a pathway for discovering your purpose. And giving from living in your purpose brings profound joy to your life. I can see it in your face, but also to the lives of those around you, as I just gave you the list. And it
Yes.
seems that giving leads to purpose and giving from purpose leads to joy. So to capture the full exponential power of our happy formula, Lindsay. I've got to tweak it just a tiny bit more
Okay.
to power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
Absolutely. I could not have put it better. That's a great equation.
Very good. All right, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. I love the power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So I'm going to read a few of my favorites and have you tell us what they mean to you and give
Okay.
us the first thing that comes to mind, Lindsay, because we call this a lightning round.
Gotcha.
Here we go. From Carrie Jones, she said, "The secret of happiness is freedom. The secret of freedom is courage."
Boldness.
Good. This is one of my own. "It's in the doing of things that are most important to you that you find true happiness."
Vulnerability.
From Michelangelo, he said, "The sculpture is already complete within the marble block before I start my work. It's already there. I just have to chisel away the unnecessary rock."
Vision.
What is it?
Visionary.
Okay. From Johan Johansson, he said, "Find the thing you do well and do it again and again for the rest of your life."
Passion.
Passion. This is from the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 12. I think you know it.
Mhm.
"Rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer."
Joy.
And finally, this is our show anchor. It's from Goth. He said, "Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now."
Intentionality.
Very good. All right, folks, now it's your chance to be a giver too. If you can hear my voice and you were inspired by today's show at Lindsay Gutierrez, please give a little love to our wonderful broadcast team by giving what you can to WITV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. They do good works with your kindness. Lindsay, I love your passion and dedication for serving others through your service in the U.S. Armed Forces and now as a volunteer and advocate for causes that matter most to you. And I admire your big and bold goal of running for a government office to stand as a beacon of bipartisanship that is so desperately needed in our country today. And I'm super happy that you've shared your generous, compassionate, and patriotic spirit on our show today. Will you take a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience?
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your show. It really means a lot to be able to use my voice in this space to be able to share and to help spread advocacy and awareness and these areas that matter to me. So I would be grateful for anybody who is interested in following my journey, whether that be for organ donation or through pageantry and how I'm using my donation to help in that different space of pageantry, because it's not every day that you meet queens who have donated twice. So you are welcome to follow me on social media. And I have a Facebook. It's Mrs. Nation's Capital 2024. And so I would be happy to share that with you so that you can get that out to listeners and viewers. And then, of course, I have my email that I would be happy to share if anybody's interested in contacting me that has any questions, would like to learn more about my testimony. I would love to share it.
Very good. Thank you, Lindsay.
Sure.
And I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Lindsay and reaching folks just like you, ready to create your own extraordinary lives. Most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to social media and all things Lindsay Gutierrez. Find her, friend her, donate to her fundraiser. It's a 37-mile challenge for the American Kidney Fund. You'll find all of it in our show notes. And from me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So go to happyliving.com right now and take our happy quiz, because measuring your happy helps you focus your attention on it, and focusing attention on it attracts change and learning and improvement, all to flow right into your life. And once you take the quiz, and it only takes a minute, then give some thought about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.